Welcome. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone to our Dharma practice, teaching. And so thank you for coming and giving this opportunity, great opportunity, so that we can practice together today. I think it's important to practice together and share the experience of each of your spiritual life with each other. Usually, the most of the time, you are very busy with your ordinary life, so you really don't have this kind of opportunity to take a spiritual journey together. So I think this is a wonderful and beneficial way to accumulate merit and wisdom together and share your spiritual activities and make good Dharma. This pop up all the time. Dharma friends, brothers and sisters, and understand each other. That's what the Buddhists call Sangha, or spiritual community. It's important members of spiritual follower get together and practice together and share each other. So I think groups of people who are practicing together and who are receiving teachings together are very beneficial and very fortunate. And we all possess the capacity to become a good human being and to make our lives meaningful and make each other happy and harmony. So I have to fix this, but let's see. In order to have a meaningful life, we need to receive teachings and practice Buddha Dharma. As you know, teaching means being shown the path and being given the transmission. And we gather that information and then we apply that and we follow that path. And we try to have some sort of good experience and understanding ourselves and realization. That's what teaching means. But I'm not sure what kind of teaching instructions you are really looking for. Usually without understanding that or without knowing practitioners' capacity, then it is not easy to communicate because maybe you will not receive the teachings that you really want, you're really looking for. But from my own experience, there are some teaching instructions and meditation that are necessary to receive for any kind of practitioners, such as practice mindfulness, practice bodhichitta. This kind of teaching instructions and this kind of basic meditation really necessary to receive, whether you are advanced practitioner or beginner practitioner, whatever, these are very important. And it's very clear that without mindfulness, you cannot meditate. Without bodhicitta, your meditation is not beneficial. Therefore, I feel really really good with my teachings, because, as you know, I always teach something that is good for everyone. It doesn't matter whether you are Buddhist. It doesn't matter you are not a Buddhist. It doesn't matter whether you are beginner or not. So you all need a good foundation in order to develop your meditation. And therefore, this kind of teachings, as I said, mindfulness, bodhicitta, help you to build a solid and very, very good foundation for your meditation. Right? That's why I'm very, I feel very good with my teachings. I usually don't give teachings such as, like empowerment, lots of different kinds of deity sort of visualizations and practices, because I'm not sure you are suitable for this kind of practice. It could be really, really good, or it could be very bad. So this kind of, like empowerment and all this kind of, like do or die. It could be really good. It could be very bad for you, because if it depends, who you are. If you are not suitable, if you are not receptacle for this kind of practice teachings. But I have received a lot of profound instructions on meditation from my root teachers. And I already shared a lot of different kinds of teachings that I received with all of you. I have nothing like really new. Almost all the time, like when I teach or, talk about bodhicitta, mindfulness, all that. So I hope you are getting the teachings that you really want to practice. That really helps in your like daily life, brings lots of benefits into your day-to-day life. I think that's very important. I mean, we are our goal, eventually like achieve enlightenment. But I think more important is something that really helps and bring lots of happiness into your daily life. I think that's very important. And I can tell you this, as I said, within Tibetan Buddhism, there are fundamental practices that are really good for everybody, no matter who you are. So you need to receive them from a qualified teacher. And especially, you need to understand the stages of meditation instructions in order to practice correctly. Therefore, today I'm very happy to be able to give you the teachings about the guiding instructions on the stages of meditation. That's what I call it. Guiding instructions on the stages of meditation that I received from my teachers, and especially Nyangma Lineage. Keep that in mind. Guiding instructions on the stages of meditation. That will be the topic for today. Very simple, okay? Today teachings, not complicated, not difficult to understand, very simple. But when you put them into your daily life, into your meditation, not simple, not easy. Oh, this Zoom today, something pop up all the time, make me really busy. I have to fix this, but I have no idea how to fix it. It's okay as long as you can hear me and you can see me. So today I would like to give you some, as I said, some important instructions to help your daily meditation, okay? So please enjoy and appreciate this valuable time, wonderful time, and all of these wonderful opportunities. Just enjoy, okay? Be happy. Now, before we start the teaching, as usual, I would like you to correct your motivation and think a little bit about bodhicitta. If you already corrected your motivation and established bodhicitta, then just please keep that continued in your mind. As Buddha said, everything is circumstantial and depends entirely on one's motivation. Every single, like when I teach, every time I remind you this. Whatever prayers of aspiration people make, they will get result accordingly. Meaning, depends entirely on your motivation. Maybe you remember, as Bhakti Rinpoché always say, listening to the teachings with certain and selfish motivation will not bring much benefit. It's really true. So your bodhicitta motivation helps you to develop confidence in your efforts toward enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So this bodhicitta motivation gives us the best ability to help or develop a great connection to all sentient beings, mentally, physically. So therefore, it's amazing. That therefore, wonderful opportunity. And once you have the correct motivation, right at the beginning, and then throughout the day, whatever you're doing, you're not wasting your time. And you can accumulate great virtue and merit. No, even you are not remembering what you're doing. You're not remembering, like you're not doing anything like that positive or practice or whatever. But as long as you have this great motivation, then even your worldly activities during the day, it will make big difference, and also brings lots of beneficial and create merit, virtue and merit. Great. So therefore, motivation, if your motivation is seeking happiness for everyone, that is great motivation. But for that, we need to think about, remember, equanimity. So, equanimity based on when you correct your motivation, we need to think about equanimity. Where does this genuine equanimity begin? If we understand the true meaning of life, then it is possible to love everyone, right? Through that understanding, we can develop a meaningful life. So then we all recognize that we are very fortunate. We have this precious life with a powerful, intelligent mind. But at the same time, we still have a lot of negative thoughts. Every day we can see more and more problems come to us. So the feeling of genuine love is sort of diminishing, right? And we are experiencing the frustration of not being able to find happiness, peace in our daily life. So we need to have a mind that is mindful, that is compassionate, not selfish, and not miserable. Therefore, the most important thing is learning and practicing these teachings in everyday life, like this basic teachings, okay? So, about the equanimity, when you correct your motivation, you need to think of all sentient beings. They all want happiness. So based on that sort of feeling or experience or understanding, then you can correct genuine and great motivation. So always when you meditate bodhicitta or correct your motivation, whatever, it must be based on the equanimity, understanding everybody's life, meaning of life. Everybody, you have to recognize everybody's equal. Everybody want happiness. So based on that, you correct your motivation. It would be wonderful. And if we do all our actions with bodhicitta, motivation, we will reach the genuine bodhisattva path. And that path is the result of positive action, result of bodhicitta. And through those positive actions, we will be able to diminish the selfish mind. As Shantideva said, we cannot forget bodhicitta. Shantideva said we're going to teach this actually, but I just want to quote this from Shantideva's way of bodhisattva. He said, those who wish to overcome the abundant suffering of mundane existence, those who wish to remove the suffering of living beings, and then those who wish to have experience of merit of joy, should never turn away from bodhicitta. So think about this Shantideva's instruction. Every day I always think about this Shantideva. So should never, he said, should never, if you want those kind of things, like if you want overcome suffering of, from samsara, if you wish to remove the suffering of sentient beings and help them, if you wish to have experience of, joy and happiness, then he said, should never, ever return away. Never forget bodhicitta. So I'm so grateful for this instruction, Shantideva. It helps me a lot, tremendously. So, as you know, I always tell you that there are two important things you must keep constantly in your mind all the time if you want to practice a great meditation. So these two things are mindfulness and bodhicitta. Okay? These two are the foundation of our practice. No matter what you practice, whatever you practice, like you must combine it with these two, mindfulness and bodhicitta. So again, we're still like, I really want you to understand how to correct your motivation. This is how you correct your motivation. First, it requires you to connect with yourself, right? That means with your, to recognize what you want, how you feel, to recognize others for what they are. So first, we have time. So today I just first breathe slowly, and then rest your attention on the breath. And at the same time, look inside of your mind. That means recognize your thoughts. What are you thinking now? Are you thinking that, this teaching, so I heard them hundreds of times, nothing special, nothing new? Or are you thinking, oh my goodness, I don't have a good mindfulness, I don't have a genuine bodhicitta, but I'm still practitioner? So whatever you have to, this is how you correct. Breathe slowly and then pay attention. Look inside of your mind, meaning what you have to recognize what you are thinking, your thoughts. I mean, you are thinking constantly. So therefore, in order to correct your mind motivation, you need to look at your mind and see what kind of thoughts and emotions are in your mind. And if you have a sort of unpleasant thoughts, something that based on selfishness, let them go and change your mind into positive thoughts. That is what we call meditation on the great kindness of everyone, remember? So please take a moment and look at your mind. Try to let go of your negative thoughts if you have, and think about bodhicitta. That's how you correct your motivation. That is a great place to begin, okay? But in order to recognize, look at your mind and recognize your thoughts, you need a mindfulness. Otherwise, this doesn't work. So that's the case. Today, we're going to practice a lot of mindfulness meditation. So I hope you correct your motivation. Now, today, the teaching topic is, as I said, guiding instructions on the stages of meditation. So this is very important to understand if you want to practice Buddhism. For the Buddhist practitioner, first we must understand what the foundational practice are, or we must understand how to take the stages of meditation. Very, very important. If you really want to develop your meditation properly, correctly, then you need to understand how to take the stages of meditation. And if you follow the stages of meditation and take them step by step, the result cannot be anything other than beneficial. But if you don't follow the fundamental practices, and instead, if you try to practice something like, advanced teachings, like, great perfections, lots of this, what they call it, Mahamudra and development stages, completion stages, without a good foundation, the result that will nothing but arrogance. No mindfulness, no bodhicitta. Then you practice great perfection. It brings, it develop your arrogance, and that's very dangerous. So according to Buddhism, there are three levels of practitioners. This is very important, I think, as Bhakti Rinpoche said, that the top level practitioners are able to make progress every day through their meditation. And those who in the middle level of practitioners, they are not good as the top level of practitioners, but they're still capable of developing their practice capacity each and every month. Maybe not every day, develop their practice. That's the top level of practitioners, they can develop their practice each and every day. But middle practitioners, they can also develop their practice every month. And then those practitioners in the lower level develop their practice over the course of a year. So we have 3 levels of practitioners. Now think about ourselves, think about yourself, think about practice. Think about your practice level. Which level do you belong? Which level do I belong? That's very important. Can I improve my practice capacity at least in a year? Become a Buddhist many years and nothing developed, that's even within a year, nothing, same, that's not good. So we have to change. Something is wrong if you can't, you know. So we have to investigate ourselves, can I, improve my practice capacity, at least in a year. If the answer is no, I'm still same person, then we do not belong to any one of these 3 levels of practitioners. Then Dr. Rinpoché called it just shows that we are practitioners in just the name only. Oh, you are Buddhist, you are a practitioner, but nothing other than name, just a name. So what is the benefit? I mean, there is, when you take refuge vows and you best on your faith, and that's good, but we have to develop our practice. So the point here is that to get the necessary foundation and the minimum goal we should set for ourselves of this life is to enter the bodhisattva's path of accumulation. That's the minimum goal, which is the first step. Bodhisattva's path of accumulation, that is the first path. And it is genuine bodhicitta. When you have generate, genuine bodhicitta, I'm not talking about the ultimate bodhicitta, but the relative bodhicitta. If you have developed that in your mind, then you are on the accumulation path, bodhisattva's accumulation path. You don't have to ask like any other teachers and where I am. You can see that where you are. Genuine bodhicitta, and then if you have that in your mind already, or you are going to develop that, then you reach the bodhisattva's path of accumulation. Then once you reach there, you're fine. Even you die, nothing more than that, but you will be just fine. But if you don't reach like this path of accumulation before you end of your life, then practitioner, Buddhist, just a name. So we all know that, right? The bodhisattva's path of accumulation. But it would be difficult to say how many of us can actually arouse genuine bodhicitta. So we must understand that if we missed the opportunity to take the first step in this life, we may not have another chance as being reborn in this human life is not really guaranteed, right? So keep that in mind. You have to at least minimum goal. I need to reach the bodhisattva's path, accumulation, the first state before I die. That's your goal. Keep that in mind. Once you have, then you're fine. Now, I think that's very important to understand and make a commitment. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the necessity of understanding the foundational practice, okay? And I want to just let you know that this foundational practice that I'm going to talk about here is for mostly, Buddhist practitioners, not for a new person about how to become a Buddhist. I'm not talking about that. I want to make sure you understand that. Otherwise, you can say go step by step and guiding instructions. Maybe he's talking about how to become a Buddhist, not that. So as a Buddhist practitioner, the first thing we do when we start to practice is we have to remember it's called the three spring methods, or the three, people translate this different ways. Some say three spring methods, some say three noble principles, some say three key points. But usually the three spring methods, that's the correct one. So these are the most foundational practice of Mahayana Buddhism for both beginners and long-term practitioners. No matter who you are, you need to, even these great masters, every day they practice these three spring methods. And whenever we study and practice Buddhist teachings, we must incorporate these 3 points in everything we do. Otherwise, actions may seem beneficial on the surface, but the motivation could be negative, right? Therefore, it is most important to fully understand the essentials of the three spring methods and practice them accordingly. So today, I'm going to talk about this three spring method. Now, you probably know what are they, but if you don't know, they are first motivation, second, the actual practice with a mind free of clinging or free of concepts, second. And then the last is dedication. So the first is motivation. When we start to practice as a Buddhist practitioner, we begin by taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, right? That is because we need an unchangeable faith in three jewels, right? When you take refuge vows, you just don't take them, right? You investigate them. You understand what are the refuge vows. Why do I need to take them? What is the meaning of what is the benefit? All of that. So you already done that. So now you need unchangeable faith and three jewels. If you don't have that, that's very bad. As I said, there, like Bhakti Rinpoche said, there are three levels of practitioners, but if we are none of them, but at least we should have a sort of unchangeable faith and three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. If you don't have that, you have to start all over again. If you're not Buddhist practitioner, of course, you don't have that. That's totally fine. So we start practice. Whenever you practice, like if you short or long practice, even like you practice 1 minute, you need to practice. You need to begin by taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Even though you don't say the prayers, but you have to remember that whenever you practice, even I said one second, that's one thing. This is because we need to trust. We need to trust our meditation. We need to trust our instructions. We need to trust our transmissions. If you don't believe Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, there's no way you can develop your practice. So we need to take refuge vows. We then consider there is a single being in this world who wants suffering. So how wonderful it will be if all sentient beings are freed from suffering. Right? So you take refuge vows, then you generate bodhicitta. Whenever you start, you do your daily practice. The teachers say that if we train in cultivating this again, we will at some point, develop a heartfelt, benevolence towards all sentient beings. We can. At that time, then we must act, not just wish to help, right? But until then, we always develop a wish to help, understand everybody's the meaning of life. So we have to sort of preparing these things in our mind. That's why they're called aspiration bodhicitta. But once we developed this, then that point we have to act. We have to help. But if our motivation is only concerned with attaining happiness or wealth or fame or being able to avoid suffering for ourselves, just only ourselves, then no matter how profound the practice itself may be, it will be a selfish practice. Therefore, take refuge and generate rose bodhicitta whenever you meditate. It's so important. It is possible that practice in this way may bring these worldly benefits, but no other good result. So therefore, the motivation is not for wealth, not for fame, not for even avoid suffering for ourselves only, right? So, for example, if we practice like Dzogchen for this kind of motivation, this practice would become a mundane practice. That's Pattern which called. The practice itself is not mundane practice. The highest practice in Buddhism, right? Dzogchen practice. Practice itself is not mundane practice, but if it is motivated by worldly pursuits, that turns it into a selfish and mundane practice. So Pattern Rinpoche always say that without genuine renunciation and bodhicitta, if someone goes on a non-year retreat and gives up all associations with others and practice the great perfection full time, even with all that, this person would not even plant the seed of liberation. Can you believe that? Non-year retreat and gives up all the, around, all everything, associations with others and belongings, everything, and you then practice the great perfection day and night. This person no have chance to reach enlightenment because your motivation is totally wrong. So how terrible it is to not have generate bodhicitta. That's why I always say this, I always focus on this, because you want to practice, but you need to practice properly, correctly. Otherwise, you feel like, oh, I practice many hours in a day, but if your motivation is wrong, there's no benefit, So for this reason, every time we do something good, we should always check our motivation first. We should ask ourselves why we want to do this. Why do I want to teach? Why do you want to listen teaching? Why do you, all these things. If our motivation is wrong, it must be corrected as quickly as possible. It must be stopped doing it because there is no beneficial. Many practitioners, recite prayers and, offerings and do prestations and so forth every day. There are no doubted Buddhist practitioners, but ask yourselves honestly why you do all these things. If the motivation is not right, all will be wrong. It will not lead you to enlightenment. So Buddhist practitioners should have a pure motivation when they do any practice. The liberation from samsara should be the ultimate goal. But in order to liberate from samsara, everything what you do is based on your motivation. So you see how important it is, So I want to, many people have heard the teachings of the three supreme methods, right? Three supreme methods many times, but that is not enough just to understand three supreme methods, just to intellectual understand. It's not enough. I really think that there's no need to hear more teachings like this. If the teachings cannot be put into practice, then, what is the point? It is not that easy to be a genuine Buddhist, and especially a Mahayana Buddhist. If we don't have a good motivation, if we don't have the courage to help sentient beings to be free from suffering, and if we are unwilling to generate bodhicitta, then certainly we are not Mahayana practitioners. So, I'm talking this all the time because we can do this. If we're not be able to, like, something is beyond our capacity, then then meaningless. Why I talk all these things? But good thing is, bodhicitta is something that even ordinary people like us are absolutely capable of generating. If we really want. And good thing is, you can see the benefit. Like almost immediately, it brings tremendous happiness into your mind once you generate sort of genuine bodhicitta. You're thinking others, but it actually brings happiness to yourself. That's why they call bodhisattvas are so skillful. That's why bodhisattvas said, if you want to be a selfish person, you want to be happy, bring lots of happiness into your daily life, practice bodhicitta. But we really need to make constant sort of improvement, not be just a Buddhist practitioner in name only. Therefore, in order to, constantly remember bodhicitta motivation, we need mindfulness. That's why these two things are so important. As I said, without the necessary foundation, it is not very meaningful. It is not very beneficial to rush into receiving other teachings like Dzogchen or, So, in my opinion, the most important is to recognize our motivation whenever we do something. And in order to recognize our motivation, we need to practice mindfulness. That's all. As simple as that. And now we're going to meditate, as I said. All of that, what I mentioned, how to correct your motivation, how important to have develop bodhicitta in our mind. But now, in order to do that, we need to practice mindfulness. So today, I would like to practice the mindfulness so that and maybe you are really good at, with mindfulness practice, but I'm not that good. The more I practice, I can see it, or I need practice this. So now, a few minutes, let's say 10 minutes, meditate, okay? 10 minutes, as I said, focus on, practice mindfulness by focus on your thoughts, your breath. Very simple. If you really focus on your thoughts and breath, I think this is the very easiest and very simple way to practice mindfulness, because your thoughts and your breath, it happens only in the present moment, right? So you focus on that, then you can, through that, you can develop, some mindfulness, you can practice through using this sort of methods. You can practice. You don't have to visualize anything. Just, first of all, let your body relax. If you want, you can, when you practice mindfulness, you can keep your eyes closed or open, whatever you want, no difference. And then, of course, relax your body. Your arms are resting comfortably, very important. And let your mind peace and relax first. Just, and then once your mind relaxed, then slowly look at your thoughts. Thoughts are always there. Without thoughts, there's no mind. So you always have thoughts, right? So look at your thoughts and then recognize your distractions and kind of let it go if you can. And then let your mind rest in a more sort of peaceful state if you can. Just to remain in the present moment and with your whole strength and clarity, focus on the mind. And sometimes some people like focus on the breath, some people don't. Whatever, I like both. When I meditate mindfulness, I focus on my thoughts, correct my motivation, and then sometimes just breath. Nothing, like you don't have to think, what is this meditation? This doesn't look really profound. I'm just looking at my thoughts, and so what? I have lots of thoughts, or just focus on my breath. I always breathe in and out. What is that? But it's really, really profound. Let go of your expectations, don't look in something really special or experience, So just to be present, this moment with both your mind, your body. And then, of course, when the mind does get distracted, gently bring it back. It will happen. And focus your breath again. Distractions could be many things, sound, your, feelings, all kinds of things. But when you, for example, when you hear sounds or you feel sort of sensations, just to let them be and simply focus on your breath again. Try to be aware of your thoughts, but you are not to sort of grasp and reject them at all. Just leave them alone. Just recognize them, that's all. Let them come and go lightly. Don't focus too tightly or too loosely. Just stay with the relaxation. That's very important. And don't hurry, just to remain very relaxed. That's how you practice mindfulness. And you can see, when you do that, you can see how often, your mind wanders away. That's totally fine, but just to relax and just to focus on your breath, and then sometimes recognize your thoughts if you have thoughts. Sometimes your mind is so relaxed, there's no thoughts, then just stay there, okay? Now, for 10 minutes, please.